A very good morning, ladies and gentlemen, all the distinguished guests, and all the eminent personalities joined in this auspicious occasion. A warm welcome to each and everyone out there. Once again, on behalf of this entire crowd, I extend a warm welcome to the official launch of the collected scientific papers of the pioneering economist and planner, P.J. Thomas, authored by Dr. Ian Thomas. So now, ladies and gentlemen, without much delay, moving on to the official proceedings of the launch, we'll be starting with the welcome speech. We have Reverend Father John Palekara, CMI, the Executive Director of Christ College of Engineering, Irinjalakuda, and he also holds as the Chairman of the Catholic Center, Irinjalakuda. Before being the founder member or the founder of Christ College of Engineering, he was the manager of Christ Group of Institutions, and he was a former director of Amir Institute of Medical Sciences as he completed his master's in business administration in hospital administration from United States. He is also the founding member and the founder as well as the principal of Lord's Academy, Varanthapalli, and the former principal of Carmel HSS, Palapalli, and the former principal of Christ Academy, Navi Mumbai. And he is also the recipient of Karma Shrestha Award from Deepika Jaili for his contributions to the educational field for the year 2018. Now I invite Reverend Father John Palekara, CMI, to deliver the welcome address.
Good morning, everybody. We all heard that idea can change the world. Idea can change the mind. But we know the ideas in the mind, it cannot change the world unless and until it comes into word. And we also read in the Bible, words are so powerful. Words are like knife. It can cut a heavy wound on. Words are double-edged swords. But Bible again says, words can be very soothing, and it can be like a divine music. It can pacify any turbulent mind. But these words are very powerful if we use it in the right way. When we analyze the history of the world, all the revolutions, all the uprisings, all the wars are ideas come into the world that motivated many people positively and negatively. So today we are going to see the unveiling of or the release of collected scientific papers of the pioneering economist and planner P.J. Thomas, written by E.M. Thomas. P.J. Thomas is a powerful economist of the country. With his writings, he made a revolution, a change in the economy of the country. And we know many writers are motivated by very famous people. Socrates' disciple, Plato, was more famous than Socrates. And Aristotle was disciple of Plato and is much famous than Plato. In the same way, the author of this book, Professor Ian Thomas, is also a very well-known economist, and he wrote almost 16 books. And this is the fourth book he wrote about our famous economist. And Professor Ian Thomas is very famous, I say, because he was professor of Christ College of Irinjalakuda, and again he was a professor at Dr. John Mathai Center, that is run by Calicut University, and he was again an applied professor of Department of Applied Economics, Kannur University. At present, he is a visiting adjunct professor of MG University, Kottayam. Today, we are so privileged to have the blessings of Dr. Sabu Thomas. He is the Honorable Vice Chancellor of Mahatma Gandhi University, and he is a very well-known author, a speaker, and a powerful administrator. We are much blessed by his presence. Thank you, Dr. Sabu Thomas, for gracing this occasion by your eminent presence. We welcome you, sir. Dr. C. Rangarajan is an eminent personality of India. He was former governor of Reserve Bank of India and former chairman of Prime Minister's Economic Advisory Council during the period of Manmohan Singh's rule in the country. And is a very well-known economist, and by his tactful administration, country could flourish economically. And we are so happy to have you, sir, and we are so privileged to have you here. Welcome you, sir, for this function. Mr. Y.V. Reddy, IAS, is a former governor of Reserve Bank of India again. He is also a former chairman of 14th Union Finance Commission, which introduced several drastic reforms in the center-state financial relations in India. So he is a powerful economist, and with his powerful administration, country could stabilize in economy, and he is such a brilliant economist, and we are so privileged to have him for this function. Welcome you, sir. Amir Kumar Bachchi is a very well-known economist, and again he was proposed for Nobel Prize in several times. We are very proud to have him today, and we wish him at least next time he must get a Nobel Prize for our country. And we wish you all the best, sir, and we pray for you. And we are so much privileged to have you in this release function. Welcome you, sir. Mr. K. Krishna is former director of Delhi School of Economics. He is father of economics in India. So he is a well-known economist, and he is made many revolutionary ideas in the field of economics. And he only started econometrics in the field of economics. So that is why he is known as father of economics in India. So thank you, sir, for coming and blessing us, and we welcome you with our gratitude, and we really appreciate your presence. Thank you and welcome you, sir. Dr. M. Govinda Rao is a former director of National Institute of Public Finance and Policy and a member of Economic Advisory Council to the Prime Minister. And he is also a very well-known person in the field of economics, and he is a very, very famous administrator. And we are so much happy to have you, sir, in this function. We welcome you. We are very much blessed by your presence. Thank you, sir, for coming over. Mr. M.A. Uman, he is a founder professor of John Mathai Center, Thrissur. That's a very well-known center in the field of economics, and that is a well-known center under the guidance of Calicut University, and is a former chairman of 4th State Finance Commission, founder, president, and patron of Kerala Economic Association. So much brilliant economist, and he founded many associations and activities, and he is a very well-known person to our Kerala state, and he is now a proud son of Kerala state in the field of economy. We are very happy to have you, sir, and we welcome you. Thank you for coming over and blessing us by your gracious presence. Okay. So once again, I thank all the dignitaries and all the invited guests for coming over and blessing us by your gracious presence. Let us join together for a change in this country, and your ideas, let it change our country to a very progressive country in the world. And everybody is predicting that India is going to be in the forefront of the globe. Let it happen with your combined effort, and let us work together. And I wish you a wonderful time for you. And again, I wish and congratulate Professor E.M. Thomas for writing such a wonderful book through his ideas. Thank you, and may God bless you. Have a wonderful time to everybody. Thank you. I conclude.
Thank you, Reverend Father John Palekra, CMI, who is the Executive Director of Christ College of Engineering, for the welcome address. Moving on, ladies and gentlemen, to the presidential address. And for that, we have a very eminent personality. We have Dr. Sabu Thomas, who is the Honorable Vice Chancellor of Mahatma Gandhi University, Kottayam. He is an eminent scientist and winner of numerous awards from both international and national. He is the Director of School of Energy Materials. He is also the founder director of International and Inter-University Center for Nanoscience and Nanotechnology. He is also the former director and professor of School of Chemical Sciences at Mahatma Gandhi University, Kottayam. With immense pleasure and respect, may I now invite Dr. Sabu Thomas for the presidential address.
Very good morning to all of you. Can you all hear me? Dr. Rangarajan, Reverend Father John Palekra, CMI, Dr. Reddy, Professor Bachchi, Professor Krishna, Dr. Rao, Professor Uman, and the star of today's meeting, Professor E.M. Thomas, the visiting professor of my university, Mahatma Gandhi University, and all the distinguished academics, colleagues, friends. At the outset, let us all remember the great economist of the country, Dr. P.J. Thomas, for a few seconds, who has done outstanding contribution to the field of economics. Let's give a big clap to Professor E.M. Thomas, who is currently our visiting professor and who has done brilliant work by collecting scientific papers of the pioneering economist and planner, Dr. P.J. Thomas. Dr. P.J. Thomas is one of the rare breeds of economists of our country who made a difference in India's history. Unfortunately, many academics and students are unaware of his great contribution to the field of economics. A product of Oxford, economic advisor to the British India, independent India, and our first Prime Minister, Jawaharlal Nehru. He did brilliant contribution to the field of economics, in the field of planning. He is famous for his excellent work in the area of rural employment generation, in the field of taxation, in the field of food security, in the field of land reforms, in the field of banking, in the field of agriculture. And I request all the young students to read his contributions. I would say he's a multifaceted personality, a brilliant academic, a brilliant teacher, a brilliant administrator, a brilliant researcher, a brilliant writer, and above all, a brilliant parliamentarian. He was elected to the Rajya Sabha, and thanks to Comrade E.M.S. Sambudripat, recommending him to Rajya Sabha. And he was a candidate of all the ruling party as well as opposition. He was totally unopposed to be elected to the Rajya Sabha. Dear friends, I'm extremely delighted as the Vice Chancellor of Mahatma Gandhi University to preside over the function to release the book titled Collected Scientific Papers of Pioneering Economist and Planner, Professor P.J. Thomas. I understand this is the fourth book on Dr. P.J. Thomas. And my friend, Professor Dr. E.M. Thomas has done a wonderful work. I understand that he spent almost 12 years to do this exciting work. And this book is extremely useful for the present and future generation of students of economics, and very useful for the policy makers of our country. So I request everyone to read this book. That's the most important point. Let's hope that Professor E.M. Thomas will continue to do exciting work for all of us, for the country, and let us all wish him all the best. And I wish you all a wonderful, productive 2022. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, for your presence and for your valuable words. Moving on, ladies and gentlemen, introducing the book. And we all know that we have all gathered here in an online mode for the official launch of collected scientific papers of the pioneering economist and planner of P.J. Thomas, written by E.M. Thomas. And now, may I now invite the author, Dr. E.M. Thomas, to introduce the book. And before that, I would like to have a small introduction about the author, Dr. E.M. Thomas. He is a visiting professor at Mahatma Gandhi University, Kottayam, and previously he was the coordinator and the faculty member of the Inter-University Center for Financial Economics and Financial Engineering at the University of Calicut. He is also an assistant professor at the Department of Applied Economics at Fiscal University, and he was also the associate professor of economics at Christ College, Irinjalakuda. And now invite E.M. Thomas to introduce about the book.
Respected Chair, Dr. Sabu Thomas, Vice Chancellor of MG University, Kottayam, my mentors and gurus, Dr. C. Rangarajan, Dr. Y.V. Reddy, Professor Kumar Bachchi, Professor K.L. Krishna, Professor Govinda Rao, and Professor M.A. Ummen, and my dear friends. It is with the immense pleasure and joy I am standing before you to introduce my fourth book on Dr. P.J. Thomas, which will be released soon by my mentor, Dr. C. Rangarajan, former Governor, Reserve Bank of India. Before speaking about the contents and features of this book, may I bow myself before the great God and my great gurus who enabled me to complete my fourth book on Dr. P.J. Thomas. Some days you may be doubted why I am saying so. It is genuine and it has its own reasons, because when I started working on this topic, that is, on the works of Dr. P.J. Thomas, especially in the year 2008-9, I had to face so many troubles and obstacles. I couldn't find adequate resources, especially research materials and books. In the first 2 years, I could gather only few articles and 1 or 2 books. Then I decided to stop the work forever. I was so disillusioned. Then I thought, why should I take up this hard work? Then again, I decided it is not worthwhile to step down from a mission which I undertook in 2 years back. So again I started work, and finally I could gather a few more articles and books, especially nearly 19 articles and 5 books by the year 2013-14. Then I published my first book on Dr. P.J. Thomas, that is in Malayalam. The title was Dr. P.J. Thomas, The Canes of Kerala. That is the book. It was an instant success. All the Malayalis wholeheartedly welcomed this book, and I got 2 literary awards for that book. It was a great inspiration for me. Then again, I continued my work. Then continued my hard work, I must say. And by the year 2018-19, I was able to publish my most important work on Dr. P.J. Thomas with the title, The Story of P.J. Thomas, an Unsung Economist. And it was released by Dr. C. Rangarajan sir at Madras University. And it was also a very huge success. And in that meeting, Dr. C. Rangarajan sir asked me, why should I, or why you should not work more about publishing a collected works of P.J. Thomas, so that it may be more advantageous and fruitful for all the coming generations of students as well as academicians. Then again I continued my work, and by the year 2021 I could gather 37 research papers and 10 books written by P.J. Thomas. And the present book is the result of this hard work. And so it includes the major ideas presented by P.J. Thomas through his 37 research papers and 10 books. And particularly, this book combines only 30 research papers published by P.J. Thomas, only in the leading journals of economics in India. And I could find 5 important articles published by him in international journals like Economic Journal. But I contacted the publishers of these articles, and then they asked me to pay a huge amount of money, and at the same time they asked me to undergo so many legal procedures. Then I thought it very difficult to overcome these hurdles. Then after having consultations with my senior mentors, they also advised me not to stick on including these papers, these 5 papers in this book. Instead, I must give some mentions and references about those articles in this book. So I refrained from publishing those articles in this book, but instead I included only 30 research papers published by P.J. Thomas in this book. And this book has been arranged in 9 sections. And these 30 articles are arranged according to their importance depending upon these 9 sections. And they are mainly agricultural economics, then development economics, public finance, international economics, money and banking, national income and planning, local development issues, sociology, customs and economic development, and a book review. And these 30 articles are arranged under these 9 subsections according to their importance. Even though I could gather, I have told you earlier, 37 articles. In this book, I have included only 30 articles because of these technical reasons. And in these articles, you can find very important contributions of P.J. Thomas, especially how he highlighted the need for a very strong central bank, particularly Reserve Bank of India in the year 1930. It is, please remember, it was the year much before the inauguration of the Reserve Bank of India in our country. And again, another very important aspect is that how he highlighted the importance of a very strong federal setup in India, especially federal finance. That is his monumental contribution. And almost all the chairmen of India's Union Finance Commissions unanimously agree that his book, especially Growth of Federal Finance, is considered as the basic text of federal finance in India. And again, he predicted so many new ideas in the year during 1920s, 30s, and 40s. For example, the idea of the present MGNREGA, we can find the seeds of this program completely in that article. There is no change at all. That is, how he elaborated how the project should be taken, how they should be financed, and how the project should be selected and distributed among different areas. And all these things, there is no difference between the present MGNREGA and the ideas presented by him in that article. Likewise, he also emphasized the importance of a peasant proprietorship and the need for land reforms through legal measures. That is a wonderful idea. And later on in the 1950s and 60s, we could find the realization of all these goals in India, in different states also. And again, he highlighted the importance of rural debt management. And then regarding this point also, he has elaborated how rural debt emerges and what are the reasons and how they should be resolved also. All these problems are beautifully analyzed in these articles. And again, he highlighted the importance of regional cooperation among developing countries for trade. Then he strongly argued that in an age of competition, the developing countries can gain maximum advantages only through their collective bargaining, and that too forming regional blocks. And now we are discussing about customs union, and now we are studying the Prabir-Singer thesis, and now we are studying Marx's theory of vicious cycle of poverty, and we can find the seeds of all these theories in his articles, all written in 1930s. But at the same time, we know all the important theories which we are discussing emerged only after 1950s. And then I am really wondered how and why this great personality and his contributions became or remained ignored for a very long period of time. Fortunately, I can say that after the publication of my 4 books on Dr. P.J. Thomas, now especially academicians in Kerala are thinking very strongly and very seriously about the contributions of P.J. Thomas. And most importantly, in 2 universities in Kerala, the recent book, the collected works of P.J. Thomas, has been included in their MA syllabus. And again, in this connection, I am highly indebted to Professor Amir Bachchi for suggesting this beautiful title. Initially, I gave the title Collected Papers of P.J. Thomas. But when I contacted Professor Amir Bachchi, he told me that it is not a good idea and it is not a good title. You must change the title into the present form, that is Collected Papers of Pioneering Economist and Planner, Dr. P.J. Thomas. And that is why I could give such a beautiful title. More than that, I am also indebted to Academic Foundation, the one of the most leading publishing houses in India, to publish my book. And so they were kind enough to publish 2 of my books. One, the former book, The Story of P.J. Thomas, an Unsung Economist, and the present book, the collected papers of a pioneering economist and a planner, Dr. P.J. Thomas. So I am indebted to all these people, and hence I humbly request all of you to make maximum benefit out of this book. And I request you to read this book and recommend this book so that the younger generations may get a very clear-cut idea about the real economic history of the pre-independent India. With this, I remain. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. E.M. Thomas, for giving us a brief about what exactly that book is all about. And thank you for your whole effort behind that particular book. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, moving on to the most awaited moment. That is our official book release. That means we have, as I rightly mentioned, we have gathered here for the official launch of the collected scientific papers of the pioneering economist and planner P.J. Thomas, written by Dr. E.M. Thomas. And now to officially do the honors, we have an eminent personality, Dr. C. Rangarajan. Dr. C. Rangarajan is an Indian economist and a former member of parliament and the 19th governor of the Reserve Bank of India. He was a chairman for the 12th Union Finance Commission and the former chairman of Prime Minister's Economic Advisory Council and the chairman of Madras School of Economics. He was a former president of the Indian Statistical Institute and the founding chairman of the C.R. Rao Advanced Institute of Mathematics, Statistics, and Computer Science. Ladies and gentlemen, with utmost pleasure and respect, may I now invite Dr. C. Rangarajan to do the honors. Over to you, sir. Sir, can you just unmute your mic? Sir, requesting you to unmute the mic.
Okay.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Is it all? Can I start saying something?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Yes, sir. Dear friends, I'm indeed very happy to release this book entitled The Collected Scientific Papers of the Pioneering Economist and Planner, Dr. P.J. Thomas, which had been edited by Dr. E.M. Thomas in a very painstaking and loving way. At the outset, let me congratulate Dr. E.M. Thomas on the extraordinary amount of work that he has put in order to bring out this collection of essays. Many of the articles go back to the beginning of the 20th century. And therefore, I can understand the number of obstacles and the difficulties that he would have faced in collecting articles from that period of time. But he has done a wonderful work. He has placed before this generation and the coming generation the collected works of Dr. P.J. Thomas so that they can benefit from the contributions he had made. Dr. P.J. Thomas is an outstanding economist who shaped the economy, both as an academic and as a policy maker. After obtaining his D.Litt from Oxford, he became the professor of economics at the University of Ceylon. Then later, he became the professor of economics at the Madras University and was there for a fairly long time, from 1927 to 1942. For 15 years, he was the professor of economics at Madras University. Thus, nearly half of his professional life was spent in the academia. Later, he was drawn into policy making in two capacities. One as a legislator, as people said about his being a member of the Rajya Sabha. He was also a member of the council of the Madras Legislative Council, and then became the economic advisor both before independence and after independence. He was the economic advisor when Rajaji was a chief minister of, or in those days called prime minister of the Madras presidency and was responsible, in a sense, to introduce the sales tax as a source of revenue for the provincial governments. Dr. P.J. Thomas was a versatile economist. As Dr. E.M. Thomas mentioned, his writings and policy advice covered over a very wide area. And E.M. Thomas has divided them into 9 sections, which include, as he said, planning, agriculture, international trade, banking, and so on, and national income, and so on. So all of this show the encyclopedic knowledge and the contribution of Dr. P.J. Thomas. Of course, his magnum opus is the growth of federal finance. And it is, in a sense, both economic history as well as theory, because he was tracing back the development over almost 100 years, and then also express his own views on how the federal finance should be. As I said, that this is hard work. It's a painstaking work. And we are all very grateful to Dr. E.M. Thomas for the singular contribution that he has made in making available all these articles to be seen and read by this generation. I do not want to go into what the various contributions of Dr. P.J. Thomas, but let me briefly mention something. I mean, I think it is important to understand the depth of the knowledge he had and the facility with which he could write on a variety of issues and topics. Many of his writings were done during a period in which India and the world was going through a period of a depression. And he was one of those who really emphasized the need for the expansion of public works in order to be able to stimulate the economy. That idea, which is now fully accepted, was not totally accepted at that particular time, and therefore he was one of the pioneers in that sense of the term in putting forward the idea, which is, of course, rooted in Keynesian theory, that in a period in which the demand is falling, there is the need for government expenditures to increase. But he also emphasized at that particular point that we need to talk about not only income multiplier arising out of public works, but also the employment multiplier. And therefore emphasized, particularly during the period of the Depression, that the public works must have a high labor intensity. That would result in an expansion in income and expansion in employment. Mr. Thomas, E.M. Thomas mentioned that the beginnings of the Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme are seen in the writings of E.M. Thomas. Sure, but I think there is some distinction between the two. Dr. P.J. Thomas was talking about what needs to be done during a period of depression. But the Employment Guarantee Scheme is something more like a continuing scheme, more in the nature of a basic income support kind of a thing. But nevertheless, I think it's important to emphasize the significant emphasis that Dr. P.J. Thomas made on the importance of public works and the expansion of public expenditure to get out of the depression. I will pass on very quickly to some of the other things. He was certainly interested in international trade. But he was also pointing out, even at that time, what is happening to theory and what is happening to practice. He does accept the fact that free trade can promote the global economy. But he was also talking about in that particular time
the rise of what he called economic nationalism, which we are also seeing now after a period of globalization. Therefore, he was discussing in terms of what the policy of a country should be in the context of a system in which free trade can provide the maximum advantage, but economic nationalism is also becoming dominant. Federal finance was his forte. That's the area in which he wrote quite a bit. In fact, in some of the articles that have been included in the book, there's a lot that is, he talks about how to strengthen both the center and the states in terms of the revenue raising capabilities. In fact, he argues in one of the articles that income tax should be actually be a source of revenue in the hands of the center. Even though I would argue that perhaps the time has come to think in terms of something like a Canadian or an American model in which both the center and the states can be provided the power to levy income tax, but with some restrictions on the power to levy income tax on the part of the states. As I mentioned earlier, one of the important suggestions that he had made earlier about the tax system was introducing the sales tax in India. And Rajaji introduced it in Madras province at that time, and was followed up by others. In fact, so long as sales tax was not too high as a proportion to 0.5%, 1%, 2%, and so on, the question of cascading was not a big issue. It's only when the sales tax rate went up to in double-digit level, the question of cascading became relevant, and therefore we had to move towards the value-added tax. He does talk in one of the articles about the rupee ratio, 1 shilling 6 pence. Of course, P.J. Thomas takes the view that it was not such a serious problem, even though there are others who might differ from that particular view. In fact, he also talks about population and does not regard overpopulation in India. That's also some issue on which some people have a different opinion. I think he was one of those who was behind Rajaji's move to introduce prohibition in the district of Salem. And it is interesting to see that after the prohibition was introduced in the district of Salem, P.J. Thomas also introduced a survey, conducted a survey to find out what its impact was. It's worth looking at it. There is one table in which he also shows that 28% or 27% of the total expenditure of the laborers was on liquor in the district of Salem. And there were some classes of laborers in which it was even as high as 30%. I think when the introduction of prohibition, it's a controversial issue. It may be a conflict with a fundamental right for people to eat what they want, to drink what they want. But at the same time, one must be conscious of the fact that in some states, this has become an issue. The addiction to liquor has become a real problem. How do we find a solution to that? Anyway, I think that is something that one should think about, and in that particular context, that the survey that Dr. P.J. Thomas had done in the district of Salem after the prohibition was introduced may be relevant. Now, let me stop here. I think I should say that the contributions of Dr. P.J. Thomas are very important, and therefore it is necessary for people to get to know them. Many people ask the question, this is a question which is asked always about history. Does history repeat itself? Well, if you look at economic history, it does not repeat itself in the same way. But the issues that arise are somewhat similar. The issue of free trade versus economic nationalism. The question of stimulating an economy when the demand is low. All these are issues that keep coming up in one form or the other. And therefore, the contributions of people like Dr. P.J. Thomas earlier during in relation to those problems are extremely useful to us. Therefore, we are deeply indebted to Dr. E.M. Thomas for the work that he has done, for putting together the major articles of Dr. P.J. Thomas. And I would end once again by congratulating him, by thanking him, and also providing and also be grateful to him for the wonderful work that he has done. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. And I now request sir to officially launch the book.
Oh, how do you do it?
If you could please raise in front of the laptop, it would be great, sir. All right, so yes, ladies and gentlemen, that was the moment that we all have been waiting for. That was the official launch that took place. So thank you, sir, for doing the honors. Thank you, thanks a lot. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, moving on to felicitations. First and foremost, we have Dr. Y.V. Reddy, IAS. He is an Indian economist and a former Indian Administrative Service officer. He served as the governor of the Reserve Bank of India and was the chairman of the 14th Union Finance Commission. He also served as the executive director with International Monetary Fund. He has been awarded with the degree of Doctor of Letters by Sri Venkateswara University, India, and Doctor of Civil Law by the University of Mauritius. In 2008, he was made an honorary fellow of the London School of Economics. He has been a visiting fellow at London School of Economics, a full-time UGC visiting professor in the Department of Business Management, Osmania University, and a full-time visiting faculty member at Administrative Staff College of India, and continues to be an honorary professor at Center for Economic and Social Studies at Hyderabad. Dr. Y.V. Reddy was also a distinguished professor of the Indian Institute of Technology, IIT Madras. With immense pleasure, may I now request Dr. Y.V. Reddy, IAS, to address the gathering. Over to you, sir.
Respected Dr. Rangarajan, distinguished participants, author Professor E.M. Thomas, and friends, I am greatly honored by the invitation to participate in this event. Dr. Rangarajan is our guru, a guru for many of us. It is our good fortune that he just released the book containing collected papers of Professor P.J. Thomas. For my part, I have expressed my views on the book in the foreword, so I will be very brief. I will read only the last sentence of my foreword. Quote, "The book will be of immense value for policymakers as well as researchers, students, and a desirable addition to libraries," unquote. The author, Professor E.M. Thomas, deserves our gratitude for bringing out this valuable book. In the introduction, Professor Thomas explains the inspiration for the book, the selection of articles, papers for inclusion and categorization, and provides a peep into the context. The book covers a wide range of subjects, and almost all of them are either policy-oriented or problem-focused. Interesting exception is the chapter on Kerala culture, its distinctive features. I want to conclude with placing on record my deep appreciation for the valuable contribution by the author Professor E.M. Thomas. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir, for your valuable words. Moving on, ladies and gentlemen, up next we have Professor Amir Bachchi. He is a distinguished Indian political economist. His contribution has spanned economic history, the economics of industrialization and deindustrialization, and development studies from an overall Marxist perspective, incorporating insights from other schools of radical political economics, including left Keynesianism. Among Marxists, he is known for his extensive contributions to the theories of imperialism and anti-development. May I now invite Professor Amir Bachchi to address the gathering. All right, so can we have Professor Amir Bachchi online? So can you just unmute your mic, and I kindly request you to address the gathering. All right, so now let's move on to the next person. And I hope there are some technical issues at Professor Amir's side. So heartfelt apologies for that, ladies and gentlemen. So, ladies and gentlemen, moving on with the felicitation, we have up next, we have Professor K.L. Krishna, who was a former director of Delhi School of Economics, who was renowned or who is known as the father of econometrics in India. His major research areas include applied econometrics, industrial economics, the economics of productivity, and regional inequality. Ladies and gentlemen, with utmost pleasure and respect, may I now invite Professor K.L. Krishna to address the gathering. Over to you, sir. So could you please unmute your mic? So we humbly request you to kindly unmute the mic. Sir, it's not audible, so requesting you to unmute the mic. Sir, I'm sure that you could be in a position to see two red buttons, one for mic and one for video. The video is on, so requesting you to switch on the mic also. Yeah, yes, sir. Yes, sir. You're audible, sir.
Okay. Yeah, I think there is an important journal, Economic and Social History Review. It used to be published from Delhi School of Economics. Now it is in the Department of History, Delhi University. I think economic historians, J. Krishnamurti is very active, and he also, I think, he gets in touch with economic historians in India. He lives in Geneva, and Sanjay Subramaniam, Balachandran, I think these are all very active economic historians. They will find very useful material in this 9-volume works of Dr. P.J. Thomas. I think I will not take more time except making this suggestion. And again, E.M. Thomas and I have been in touch with each other for the last few years. I can see the amount of work he has put in, and with great devotion, and it is a selfless effort on his part. I congratulate him. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your valuable words. Thank you for your presence. Now, ladies and gentlemen, moving on, we have Dr. M. Govind Rao. Dr. M. Govind Rao is the director of National Institute of Public Finance and Policy. He was a director of Institute for Social and Economic Change, Bangalore, and was a fellow for the Research School of Pacific and Asian Studies, Australian National University, and served as a professor at National Institute of Public Finance and Policy. Dr. Rao has a number of advisory roles in his career. He is a member of the Economic Advisory to the Prime Minister of India with the rank of Minister of State for the Government of India. And he is a member of the Financial Sector Legislative Reforms Commission and a high-level expert committee on universalizing healthcare, and served as a member of high-level expert committee on efficient management of public expenditure, and also served as a member of advisory group of eminent persons to advise the finance minister on G20 matters. Ladies and gentlemen, I request sir to address the gathering.
Dr. Rangarajan, Dr. Reddy, Dr. Thomas, Professor Krishna, Professor Bachchi, Professor Amir, Professor Sabu Thomas, and other distinguished personalities present in this important occasion of releasing very valuable work, selected scientific papers of the pioneering economist and planner, Dr. P.J. Thomas. I'm greatly honored to be a part of this galaxy of scholars in expressing my gratitude to Dr. Professor E.M. Thomas for bringing out such an important volume for the benefit of not only the youngsters, but also even those contemporary economists who seem to forget economic history. Dr. Thomas, E.M. Thomas must be complimented for putting together the collected scientific papers of Professor Thomas. Professor Thomas was an eminent scholar, policymaker, and a parliamentarian, as others have already mentioned. The collected papers give a rare glimpse into the political economy aspects of pre-independent India and the Indian economy in transition. He had the distinction to advise both the imperial government and later independent India. Dr. P.J. Thomas' research spans into varied areas, as was mentioned by earlier scholars. And if one wants to know the origins of fiscal federalism in British India, one should read his works. The paper I was really fascinated by a series of papers in the section on public finance, And the papers in this have not merely historical significance for those wanting to learn or dwell on economic history of pre-independent India, but also for the contemporary relevance it has. Starting from a centralized imperial system of governance with the Charter Act of 1833, the paper goes on to record the adverse effects of centralization. The seeds of federalism were sown in the massive scheme of decentralization which was done of Major General Richard Strachey in 1867. Dr. Joseph is clear that centralization was necessary in the initial years to unify the diverse India. Of course, this particular paper stops the evolution in thinking at 1870. I think the subsequent developments, starting with the Montagu-Chelmsford Reform and the Government of India Act of 1919, in which for the first time the system of diarchy was brought in. In fact, this and subsequently the Government of India Act of 1935, which formed the basis of the Indian Constitution, need to be put together to see how the entire thing the issue of fiscal federalism in India has evolved. In the public finance section, there is an insightful article on Indian fiscal position during the Depression, as was pointed out by Dr. Rangarajan, a commentary on the fiscal prospects of the new constitution. Even in those days, he was against protectionism, and he wrote, "It would be and I quote, it would be hazardous to build hopes on the customs revenue being maintained at the present high level. High protection is in fashion in America and elsewhere. India is launching on the same course." And he adds, protectionism is a double-edged sword. If it is successful, the customs revenue will be lost. And if it is not, the consumer will have to bear the burden, unquote. Perhaps possibly it's one of the contrarian views at the time. Dr. P.J. Thomas' works span a wide canvas, as I mentioned earlier, and Dr. E.M. Thomas has done well to classify them into 9 different sections. The works range from macroeconomic issues, microeconomic as well as developmental issues. It covers sectoral analysis, public finance, international economics, and many more. Perhaps the best way to appreciate it is to buy it and read it in leisure. Reading 489 pages of that is a worthwhile investment. The economics profession is grateful to Professor P.J. Thomas for thinking about so many issues at the time, and for Dr. E.M. Thomas for focusing them on together and bringing them together. And he has done yeoman service to the profession by putting them together. Much has already been said. I do not want to say anything more, but I am greatly impressed and must congratulate Professor E.M. Thomas and appreciate the enormous amount of hard work that he has put in over the years to bring all these important papers together for the benefit of the present and the future. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Moving on, ladies and gentlemen, up next we have Dr. M.A. Uman. Dr. M.A. Uman is the former chairman of the 4th State Finance Commission, Government of Kerala. He is also an honorary professor at Center for Development Studies, Trivandrum. He is a founding professor of Dr. John Mattei Center, Thrissur. Dr. Uman is an economist of repute with a rich collection of professional papers and numerous books to his credit. A postdoctoral scholar of the Rockefeller Foundation and a visiting fellow at Yale University. He has taught in the universities of Kerala, Calicut, and Botswana for more than 3 decades and has occupied several important positions besides serving several important commissions and committees in India and abroad. With immense respect, may I now request Dr. M.A. Uman to address the gathering.
Esteemed Rangarajan ji and my dear colleagues, remembering pathfinders and pioneers is a great act quite often ignored in India. By this book release function, Professor Rangarajan, with an excellent introduction, going into depth and details in a short period of time. And Dr. Y.V. Reddy, who wrote the foreword to the book, collected scientific papers of P.J. Thomas, and those participating in this are contributing to this great venture of honoring our pioneers. I have had the good luck to listen to lectures of Dr. P.J. Thomas as a student at the University College and several other venues. I distinctly remember P.J. Thomas telling an audience in the early 1950s that Kerala's geography, soil structure, and cropping pattern have more in common with Sri Lanka, or at that time called Ceylon. Later on, in writing a paper on rice and growth of banking in Kerala, I identified the unique banking features of Kerala by drawing on the writings of P.J. Thomas. He said that the banks in Kerala rose out of the womb of chittis and kuris and they originated in the villages of Kerala and helped small farmers. That is a tradition unusual in the banking practice at that time. No wonder Kerala had such big banks like National Koilon Bank, which with branches in England and Ceylon at that time. I must acknowledge that I benefited immensely from the writings of Dr. P.J. Thomas. In the collector works released today, there is an insightful paper on Natukota Chettiars, their indigenous banking tradition and their financial entrepreneurship, and many other things which can be compared to the tradition even in Kerala. The Syrian Christians who pioneered banking in Kerala and promoted denominational banking like Catholic Syrian Bank, the Marthoma Bank, the Cochin Nair Bank, and so on. The papers in this collection eminently tell how Dr. P.J. Thomas was at ease in international money and banking, as well as in indigenous banking. He could easily take his students to Gilbert Slater as we read through the various writings on surveys in the collection. while he was a professor of economics at Madras University. The relevance of this collection and its brilliance consists in bringing home the significance of economic history, as many have said before, on which Karl Marx, Karl Polanyi, and John Hicks drew attention of economists of eminence. He brilliantly reviewed Vera Anstey's book on the economic history of India, which is given in the collection, which was a reference book for MA Economics in the Travancore University where I studied. And incidentally, Vera Anstey was one of the examiners of my PhD thesis. If any contemporary students want to know the meaning and history of rural economic enquiries, when there was no national sample surveys, one should read some of the papers in this collection. No wonder he drew attention to the defects of national income computations in one of the brilliant papers in the collection. P.J. Thomas was against all forms of economic nationalism, and in one or two papers on international trade pointed out why agricultural countries got only a small share of world's income, as he called it. It is not my purpose to delve deep into this eminent collection, but drive home the need to study economic history and conduct micro-level enquiries along with economics, as P.J. Thomas has shown as professor. For P.J. Thomas, it was he is in international economics and economics more than economics. He concentrated on economy, which is both at its micro and macro levels. E.M. Thomas, whom I know at very close quarters, translated Y.V. Reddy's autobiography into Malayalam and created history. Malayalis have no dearth of economists. Dr. John Mathai, Dr. K.N. Raj, and P.J. Thomas stands head and shoulders above all of them. I congratulate E.M. Thomas for his painstaking and hard work. I know he spends his own money, unless many of his compeers, for academic pursuit of knowledge, and congratulate him once again for this great endeavor. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So, ladies and gentlemen, with that, moving on to the last person, we have the word of thanks. May I now request Mr. Justin Thomas to express the word of thanks.
Yeah. Hello. I think all are audible to me, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. And first of all, let me take this opportunity to thank my father for giving me opportunity to speak in, to share the screen with the eminent economists across the world. Then let me start my duty. Respected Chair, Dr. Sabu Thomas, Honorable Vice Chancellor, MG University, Dr. C. Rangarajan sir, Dr. Y.V. Reddy sir, Professor Amir Bachchi sir, K.L. Krishna sir, M. Govinda Rao sir, Professor M.A. Uman sir, and all other distinguished guests on the dais and the audience around the world. My responsibility is to express my sincere thanks to all the people who made this book release a memorable one. This program has become memorable because of the presence of the great economists who are still contributing enormously to the discipline of economics, particularly the Indian economics. As you know, Dr. Sabu Thomas, who is an Honorable Vice Chancellor of Mahatma Gandhi University, is a very busy person with hectic schedules. Even then, he found time to preside over this great function due to his genuine academic interest and respect to Dr. P.J. Thomas, who hailed from his district. Respected sir, on behalf of everybody present here, I wish to extend our sincere thanks to you, sir. Dr. C. Rangarajan sir is the real person behind the book. Collected papers of P.J. Thomas. He blessed us many ways. In the case of our last book, titled The Story of P.J. Thomas, he blessed us by writing the foreword. Moreover, he was kind enough to release that book at Madras University 2 years ago. At that time, he put forward the idea of publishing all the published research papers in the form of a new book. Hence, the work on the contribution of Dr. P.J. Thomas was again started. Moreover, he was kind enough to write a blurb for the book. In fact, I am stumbling forward to express our gratitude to him for blessing us by releasing this book as well. Hence, respected sir, from the bottom of our heart, on my personal behalf and on behalf of this august audience, I express my sincere gratitude to you, dear sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Dr. Y.V. Reddy sir, IAS, is another stalwart who is closely associated with our book on Dr. P.J. Thomas. By writing the foreword for this book, moreover, his valued presence and words of blessings has made us very happy. We are also fortunate to get the opportunity to translate his autobiography titled Advice and Dissents into Malayalam with the new title Devam Chirikkunnu. That means God laughs. This Malayalam book has made Reddy sir a household name in Kerala. He is also aware of it. The appreciation letters he is receiving from the readers stands the testimony to the book. Hence, respected sir, on my personal behalf and on behalf of everybody present here, I express my sincere gratitude to you, dear sir. Thank you very much, dear Reddy sir. Professor Amir Kumar Bachchi sir needs no special introduction to the economists across the world. Our only prayer to God is to bless him with Nobel Prize in Economics as early as possible. 3 years back, he was at Dr. John Mathai Center, Thrissur, to deliver the first Foundation Day lecture in honor of Professor M.A. Woman. Thus, we got the wonderful opportunity to understand the depth of his scholarship. Moreover, he is the person who suggested the title of the present book. More than that, he blessed us by writing the beautiful blurb also for this book. Hence, so on my personal behalf and on behalf of everybody present in this program, I express my sincere thanks to you, dear sir. Professor K.L. Krishna sir is closely associated with our works on Dr. P.J. Thomas. He was also the first winner of Dr. P.J. Thomas Award, P.J. Thomas Award for the Economist of the Year. It is the national award as well. Then, as you know, Krishna sir is also known as the father Leela Krishnan, the small, thin, but ever-smiling, brilliant boy from Andhra Pradesh. We are extremely happy to enjoy your presence in this program. Hence, respected sir, on my personal behalf and on behalf of everybody participating in this function, may I express my sincere gratitude to you, dear Krishna sir. Thank you. Dr. M. Govindarao sir is also another important admirer of Dr. P.J. Thomas. As we all know, Professor M. Govindarao sir is most important authority on all matters related to federal finance in India. His books and articles on fiscal federalism stands testimony to his scholarships on the subject. Dr. P.J. Thomas was also an ardent advocate of fiscal federalism in India. He has also blessed us by writing the blurb for this book. Hence, sir, from the bottom of my heart and on behalf of everybody participating in this program, I wish to express my sincere gratitude to you, dear sir. Now, Professor M.A. Woman, sir, is the role model, the economists and students in the state of Kerala. He is a marvelous teacher, igniting minds of students with new ideas. The research papers and the books published by M.A. Woman, sir, is considered one of the most valuable source of materials by researchers in Kerala. He was an ardent admirer of Dr. P.J. Thomas. Not only that, He was fortunate to hear the speeches of Dr. Peter Thomas several times. Moreover, we are also grateful to Umen sir for writing the foreword for the book on Dr. Peter Thomas in Malayalam, titled as Peter Thomas, The Canes of Kerala. Hence, sir, on my personal behalf and one and all participating in this function, I express my deep gratitude to you, dear sir. Another important personality we are indebted to for this event is none other than Father John Paliyakara, the director of Christ College of Engineering, Irinjalakuda. We initially thought to conduct this program at Madras School of Economics, but due to the onslaught of Omicron, spoiled everything. Thus, we sought to the possibility at MG University, Kottayam, but the technical infrastructure there was found insufficient to conduct this type of program. Finally, we approached Father John Paliyakara. Instantly, he promised all support, and he also promised the support of two eminent professionals working in the institute, Professor Hingston and Professor Paul Allingarden. Thus, with the huge support of the able leadership of these three persons, the present program has become a reality. Hence, on my personal behalf and on behalf of everyone present in this function, I express my deep gratitude to Father John Paliyakara, Professor Hingston, and Professor Paul Allingarden. Then one more thing I have to express my sincere gratitude that is not written in this paper. That is, I express my sincere gratitude to my father who has spent 24 hours, 365 days to make this book a reality. It is only because of his hard work he has put in, has made this mission accomplished. I really salute you, my dear father, for making this mission a grand success. And hence, to conclude, I express my deep gratitude to one and all who have participated in this book release program and made this program a huge success. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Justin Thomas, for the voice thanks. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, and all the distinguished guests out there, we come to the end of the official launch of the collected scientific papers of the pioneering economist and planner Peter Thomas, written by Dr. Ian Thomas. So now, on behalf of this entire crowd, I would like to express a sincere gratitude for your presence and for gracing the occasion. Thank you and have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, dear Rangarajan sir,
Thank you,
and everyone. Thank you very much.